What if the world's richest families are quietly packing their bags and leaving the city everyone thinks they love the most? For years, Dubai has been the shiny magnet for billionaires, the desert city of gold towers and zero-tax dreams. But behind closed doors, something strange is happening. Private bankers are getting calls they never expected. Family offices are shifting money overnight. And a growing number of the ultra-wealthy are turning their eyes toward a small, quiet island thousands of miles away, Singapore. This is not a rumor. This is a real shift happening right now, driven by fear, strategy, and survival instincts that only the truly wealthy understand. Today, we uncover the 10 real reasons behind this quiet migration, and why it might be the biggest financial story nobody is talking about. Point 1: The night the region shook. Every migration story has a spark, a single moment that changes everything. For Dubai's wealthy residents, that moment came when regional conflict suddenly felt closer than ever before. When retaliatory strikes linked to tensions between Iran and its rivals reached areas near Dubai, something shifted in the minds of the ultra-rich. Overnight, entrepreneurs who had spent years building trust in the emirate began quietly moving their money elsewhere. Reports emerged of Indian entrepreneurs rushing to transfer more than $100,000 out of their Dubai bank accounts within hours of the strikes. This was not panic without reason. Wealthy families do not build empires by ignoring risk, they build them by respecting it. A private wealth lawyer in Singapore later revealed that around 7 of his 20 Dubai-based clients, each holding an average of $50 million in assets, reached out almost immediately with plans to shift their wealth. Meanwhile, a corporate services provider in Singapore received inquiries from between 10 and 20 family offices within a single week, all asking the same question: how quickly can we move our money home to safety? This is the emotional core of the entire story. Money does not just chase profit, it chases peace of mind. For decades, the ultra-wealthy believed Dubai was untouchable, a glittering bubble far from the chaos of the wider region. But that night proved otherwise. Suddenly, geography mattered again. Suddenly, being sandwiched between conflict zones felt less like a strategic advantage and more like a quiet liability sitting in the back of every investor's mind. Singapore, by contrast, sits far from those fault lines. It is an island nation with no hostile neighbors, no border disputes, and a government famous for neutrality. For families managing generational wealth, that kind of distance from conflict is not just comforting, it is priceless. And once that seed of doubt is planted in the mind of someone managing hundreds of millions of dollars, it rarely disappears. It grows, quietly, until action follows. This single spark did not empty Dubai overnight, but it planted the first real crack in a story that had once seemed unbreakable, and it set the stage for everything that followed. Point 2: The comfort of boring stability. Billionaires do not fall in love with excitement, they fall in love with boredom, the good kind, the predictable kind. Singapore has spent decades perfecting the art of being wonderfully, reliably boring in the best possible way. Its government has remained stable for generations. Its courts function with clockwork precision. Its policies rarely swing wildly from one year to the next. For people managing enormous fortunes, this kind of dependable calm is worth more than almost anything else on earth. Dubai, on the other hand, has built its reputation on speed and transformation. New laws arrive quickly, new visa categories appear overnight, and entire industries can be reshaped within a single government announcement. This has been part of its charm, a city that moves faster than anywhere else. But speed cuts both ways. What changes quickly in your favor can also change quickly against you. Wealthy families who plan multi-generational strategies often find that kind of unpredictability exhausting, even frightening, when trillions of dollars in family wealth depend on rules staying the same for decades. Singapore's strength lies in its almost boring consistency. Business rules are published years in advance. Legal reforms move through long, transparent processes. Even its politics, often dominated by a single ruling party for decades, offer a strange kind of comfort to investors who fear sudden upheaval. There is a reason Singapore continues to rank near the very top of global wealth mobility scores, often just behind Switzerland, while cities built on rapid transformation struggle to match that same sense of permanence. For a family thinking 100 years ahead, not just one fiscal year ahead, Singapore represents an anchor. It is the harbor where the storm rarely reaches, where institutions outlive individual leaders, and where a promise made today is still likely to be honored decades from now. In a world addicted to disruption, Singapore has turned stability itself into its greatest luxury product, one that billionaires are increasingly willing to pay a premium to access. Point 3. The shadow of banking scrutiny. Money hates uncertainty, especially when it comes to something as fundamental as moving funds across borders. For several years, the United Arab Emirates carried the weight of increased international monitoring after global watchdogs flagged concerns about money laundering controls. Although the country worked hard and was officially removed from that list of jurisdictions under increased monitoring back in 2024, the memory of that period still lingers in the minds of cautious wealth managers. Even after removal, banks around the world remained more careful with transactions linked to the region. Correspondent banks, the giant institutions that allow money to move smoothly between countries, sometimes treated newly formed companies in the emirate with extra suspicion. For a billionaire trying to move large sums quickly and quietly, even small delays or extra paperwork can feel like a warning sign, a signal that the system is watching a little too closely. Singapore, meanwhile, has spent decades building one of the most trusted banking reputations on the planet. Its regulators are known globally for strict but predictable oversight, the kind that reassures rather than alarms. When a transaction moves through a Singapore bank, it rarely raises eyebrows anywhere else in the world. That kind of frictionless trust is worth an enormous amount to families managing complex international portfolios across dozens of jurisdictions. There is also a psychological layer here that matters deeply. Reputation is sticky. Even as the region strengthens its compliance systems and prepares for a new round of international evaluations in 2026, some wealthy families simply prefer to bank somewhere that never had to earn its way back onto a trusted list in the first place. It is not always about current reality, it is about perception, and perception moves money just as powerfully as facts do. For the ultra-cautious, Singapore offers something priceless, a clean slate with zero history of red flags, and that peace of mind quietly outweighs almost any tax advantage on the table. Point 4. A golden invitation for family offices. Every wealthy family eventually needs a home base for its money, a structure known as a family office that manages investments, philanthropy, and succession planning for generations to come. Singapore has turned attracting these family offices into a national strategy, and it shows. Through special tax incentive schemes, the government offers meaningful benefits to family offices that commit real capital and hire local talent within the country. These programs are not vague promises, they are structured, predictable pathways with clear investment thresholds and clear rewards. A family that sets up a qualifying office and meets the investment requirements can access reduced tax treatment on many forms of investment income. Combine that with Singapore's Global Investor Program, which grants permanent residency to those who establish a family office and meet certain thresholds, and you have a country actively rolling out a red carpet for multigenerational wealth. Dubai certainly offers its own attractions too, including 0% corporate tax within many of its free zones and incredibly fast setup times, sometimes allowing a family office to be formed in as little as 6 weeks. Speed and cost efficiency remain genuine strengths of the emirate. But speed is not always what ultra-wealthy families are searching for once their fortune reaches a certain size. They start prioritizing long-term certainty over short-term convenience, and that shift in mindset favors Singapore's more structured, incentive-driven approach. There is also the matter of legal recognition. Singapore fully recognizes trust structures under English common law traditions, a framework many wealthy families, especially those with roots in Britain, Hong Kong, or the wider Commonwealth, already understand deeply. Trusts allow for smoother succession planning across multiple generations. When a family is deciding where to plant a financial tree meant to grow branches for 100 years, the depth of legal roots matters just as much as the shade offered today. Singapore has quietly built one of the deepest root systems in the world. Point 5. The China connection reroutes. To understand this migration story fully, you need to understand the massive wave of wealth coming out of China. Chinese entrepreneurs, tech founders, and family offices have been diversifying their wealth internationally at record pace, and both Dubai and Singapore have competed fiercely to capture this river of capital. For a while, Dubai pulled ahead, especially as Singapore tightened its residency rules and slowed down certain immigration approvals, making the process feel more bureaucratic and less welcoming for new arrivals. But money in motion rarely settles permanently in one place, especially when multiple factors are being weighed at once. As global tensions rose and questions about regional stability near the Gulf intensified, some of those same wealthy Chinese families and their advisors began reconsidering the balance. Singapore's deep and mature capital markets, its position as a genuine gateway into the rest of booming Southeast Asia, and its long-standing ties to Chinese business culture through shared language and generations of trade relationships, all began pulling attention back eastward. This tug-of-war between the two cities is not a simple one-directional story, it is a genuine competition, shifting month by month based on policy changes, global headlines, and word of mouth within tightly connected wealth management circles. What matters is this: Singapore is no longer losing this battle by default. It has strengthened its own investor pathways and continues climbing global wealth mobility rankings, sitting close to the very top worldwide alongside traditional giants like Switzerland. For Chinese family offices specifically, Singapore also offers something Dubai simply cannot replicate as easily: direct proximity to the fastest-growing consumer markets in Asia, including Indonesia, Vietnam, and India. When your next investment opportunity is a short flight away rather than an entire ocean away, that proximity becomes a serious competitive advantage that keeps pulling capital back toward the island, one family office decision at a time. Point 6. Courts that speak the language of trust. Wealth without legal protection is just a number waiting to disappear. This is why the strength of a country's court system matters enormously to billionaires deciding where to plant their fortune long-term. Singapore's legal system is built on English common law, the same foundation used in Britain, the United States in part, and much of the Commonwealth world. This shared legal language creates familiarity, predictability, and above all, trust among international investors who already understand how these systems typically behave. Singapore's judiciary is also widely respected for its independence and its speed. Commercial disputes move through the courts efficiently, without the years-long delays that plague many legal systems around the world. The country even created a specialized commercial court designed specifically to handle complex international business disputes, staffed with judges experienced in cross-border finance. For a billionaire worried about protecting assets across multiple countries, knowing there is a fast, fair, and internationally respected court system waiting in the background offers enormous peace of mind. The United Arab Emirates has made real strides here too, building specialized courts within financial-free zones that operate under common law principles, offering an alternative to its broader civil law system. These reforms deserve genuine credit and have made Dubai far more attractive to international business than it once was. Yet Singapore's legal reputation carries decades more history, decades more precedent, and decades more trust built up in the eyes of global investors, lawyers, and insurance companies who ultimately decide where risk feels manageable. When your fortune is measured in the hundreds of millions or billions, you are not just protecting money, you are protecting a legacy meant to outlive you. That kind of protection depends entirely on courts you can trust to enforce contracts fairly, resolve disputes quickly, and remain consistent regardless of who holds political power. Singapore has spent generations earning exactly that kind of trust, and billionaires notice. Point 7. The quiet power of a strong currency. Currency stability rarely makes headlines, but it quietly shapes some of the biggest financial decisions on earth. The Singapore dollar has long been managed with extraordinary discipline, backed by one of the most respected central banking systems in the world. Its value tends to remain steady, supported by massive foreign reserves and an economy built on diversified strengths including finance, technology, shipping, and advanced manufacturing rather than dependence on a single industry. The United Arab Emirates dirham, by comparison, has remained pegged to the United States dollar for decades, offering its own form of predictability. This peg has served the country well, providing confidence for international trade and investment. However, some wealthy families prefer currencies backed by fully independent monetary policy rather than one tied directly to decisions made by another country's central bank thousands of miles away. When American interest rate decisions ripple directly into your local currency without any local flexibility to respond, that can feel like an invisible risk sitting quietly beneath the surface. Singapore's economy also benefits from remarkable diversification. It is not reliant on oil, tourism, or any single sector to sustain its growth. Its strength comes from a blend of global finance, cutting-edge technology, world-class shipping infrastructure, and increasingly, biotechnology and advanced manufacturing. This diversification acts like a shock absorber during global downturns, cushioning the economy in ways that heavily specialized economies sometimes struggle to match. For billionaires managing wealth across multiple currencies and countries, these subtle differences matter enormously over long time horizons. A currency that moves independently, backed by a deeply diversified economy, represents one more layer of insulation against global shocks. It is rarely the headline reason anyone gives publicly for relocating, but ask any experienced wealth manager privately, and they will tell you, currency stability quietly influences far more decisions than people realize. Point 8. Where the kids actually want to live. Behind every billionaire is usually a family, and families do not just care about tax rates, they care about daily life. Where will the children go to school? How good are the hospitals? Is the air clean? Is the water safe to drink straight from the tap? These questions matter just as much as any spreadsheet full of financial projections, and increasingly, Singapore is winning this quieter, more personal competition. Singapore consistently ranks among the safest cities on earth, with extremely low crime rates and a level of public order that feels almost unimaginable to families coming from larger, more chaotic metropolises. Its education system is globally renowned, regularly topping international rankings in mathematics and science, and its universities attract students from around the world. Healthcare in Singapore is considered among the very best globally, combining cutting-edge medical technology with genuinely excellent patient care. Dubai has made incredible progress in these same areas, building world-class hospitals, international schools, and increasingly diverse, family-friendly neighborhoods. The lifestyle appeal remains undeniable, with year-round sunshine, luxury amenities, and a genuinely exciting, fast-growing city atmosphere that many families deeply love. This is not a story of one city being bad and another being good, both offer extraordinary quality of life by almost any global standard. But for some families, especially those already deeply connected to Asian business networks, cultures, and extended family relationships, Singapore simply feels more like home. Mandarin is widely spoken. Cultural touchpoints feel familiar. Long-term residency pathways feel clearer and more established after decades of consistent policy. When you are choosing not just where to invest your money, but where your grandchildren will grow up, that emotional sense of belonging often quietly outweighs almost every other factor on the list, no matter how impressive the financial incentives elsewhere might be. Point 9. The art of staying invisible. Extreme wealth attracts extreme attention, and for many billionaires, attention is the enemy. Kidnapping threats, extortion attempts, aggressive media coverage, and constant public scrutiny are very real concerns for families managing fortunes worth hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. This is why discretion has quietly become one of the most valuable currencies in the world of private wealth, often more valuable than any tax break. Singapore has built a strong reputation for protecting the privacy of its wealthy residents. Its banking secrecy laws, while balanced against international transparency standards, still offer a level of quiet confidentiality that many families find deeply reassuring. Ownership structures can be arranged discreetly, and the country's culture generally values privacy and restraint over public displays of wealth, creating an environment where billionaires can genuinely blend into everyday life without constant public attention following their every move. Dubai, by contrast, has built much of its global brand around visible luxury, gleaming skyscrapers, exclusive beach clubs, and headline-grabbing announcements celebrating new billionaire residents. This visibility has undeniably fueled the city's incredible growth story, attracting attention, investment, and admiration from around the world. But visibility cuts both ways. The same publicity that attracts new wealth can also attract unwanted scrutiny toward the individuals living at the very top of that pyramid, something not every family wants for their children or their personal security. Some of the world's quietest fortunes, the ones you rarely read about in headlines, have long preferred jurisdictions where discretion is treated as a genuine cultural value rather than an afterthought. Singapore fits that description exceptionally well. In a world where information travels instantly and privacy has become increasingly rare, the ability to manage a massive fortune quietly, without becoming a headline, is itself an extraordinary and increasingly sought-after luxury. Point 10. The gateway to what comes next. The smartest investors do not just protect wealth, they position it for what comes next. And right now, an enormous share of the entire world's future economic growth is expected to come from Asia. Countries like India, Indonesia, Vietnam, and the Philippines are home to massive, young, rapidly growing populations entering their prime working and spending years. Singapore sits at the absolute center of this incredible growth story, acting as the financial gateway through which enormous amounts of regional investment flows. For a billionaire thinking decades ahead, geography becomes strategy. Singapore offers direct access to Asian stock exchanges, private equity opportunities across emerging Southeast Asian markets, and deep relationships with regional governments actively courting foreign investment. Its airport connects seamlessly to nearly every major Asian business hub within a matter of hours, making it remarkably easy to manage investment spread across an entire continent from a single, stable home base. Dubai offers its own powerful version of this same strategic logic, sitting perfectly between Europe, Asia, and Africa, with incredible connectivity to emerging markets across the Middle East and the African continent, a region also experiencing rapid population growth and economic transformation. Both cities genuinely serve as legitimate gateways to enormous future opportunity, and this is precisely why so many families choose to maintain a presence in both locations rather than picking just one. But when forced to choose a single primary base, an increasing number of wealthy families are leaning toward Singapore specifically because of Asia's staggering growth trajectory over the coming decades. The math is simple and undeniable: more people, more spending power, more emerging middle-class consumers than almost anywhere else on the planet. For billionaires who think in terms of centuries rather than quarters, positioning wealth at the doorstep of the world's next great economic boom is not just smart strategy, it is practically an obligation. So there you have it, 10 powerful reasons quietly reshaping where the world's wealthiest families choose to call home. This is not really a story about Dubai losing or Singapore winning, it is a story about how fortune, fear, family, and future opportunity all pull against each other in ways most of us never get to witness up close. The ultra-wealthy are not so different from the rest of us in that sense, they are simply searching for safety, stability, and a better life for the people they love, just with a lot more zeros attached to every decision. If this story opened your eyes to a world you rarely get to see, hit that like button right now. It genuinely helps this video reach more curious minds like yours. Drop a comment below and tell me, if you had unlimited wealth, would you choose Dubai's glittering excitement or Singapore's quiet stability? And if you want more deep dives into the secret world of global wealth, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because this is only the beginning of the story.